Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 48 of the New Slang Podcast. This week we have Shane Smith of Shane Smith and the Saints on. They were in town a few weeks back whenever they were playing a street show here at Blue Light, and so we went to the Black Patio for a while and talked. There are a couple of breaks in this interview because we did like the first 15 minutes before sound check, and then we ended up taking a little bit of a break and then coming back and recording the rest of it. And then there's like another time where like someone came up to get a guitar signed. So yeah, you'll hear those little breaks in there, but yeah, it was a really great interview or conversation. We talk a lot about the upcoming new record that they're going to be putting out pretty soon. We talk about Shane's first record, the Texas music scene in general, and yeah, just I don't know. You'll hear it, I guess. You'll hear what we talk about. Yeah, as far as wide open country stuff that I've written lately, I do have a Robert O'Keefe, like an hour-long Q&A coming out pretty soon. It should be out Tuesday. We just talked about for, like I said, like an hour, talking about everything Robert O'Keefe, about songwriting, early records, late records. Yeah. There's also like this piece that I did on Lyle Lovett's Step Inside This House. It's a 20-year-old record already now. It was released in 98, and yeah, I just think it's like a really important record, so I wrote like a track-by-track guide, kind of reminding you, if you forgot about the record, kind of like where all those connecting points are in it. And if you've never heard of it, you know, it's a really great introduction to go and discover it. We're going to keep this real short. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, go ahead and do so. Rate the podcast on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. Write something nice about us. And yeah, tell all your friends and whatnot. Okay, so here's this podcast conversation with Shane Smith. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I know it. How have you been?
Well, not too bad.
What have you been up to?
Just busy doing the same thing, basically.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Busy
Yeah.
is good.
So, you guys have like this new record in a can, right?
Yeah,
I guess like all.
we do.
What? That's the thing is like. It feels like always like the recording part is the short part, and then it's all getting all the ducks in a row.
Yeah,
That's the long part.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. With our latest album, Geronimo, it wasn't necessarily like that because it took us forever to record it, and we recorded while on the road, like, you know, over different states, and you would be booking studio time on the same days that we had gigs at night and doing studio work in the morning, like random.
Yeah, I remember you
Just
talking
terrible
about how.
way of doing a record, but it ended up being cool because, you know, you can hear parts of it where it's like, you know, I can remember being in like a living room in Nashville and that fiddle part got tracked or you know, whatever, and then another part will be in Austin or San Marcos or Dallas or whatever, and so that made it cool. But this new one we recorded legitimately, I think in like a 10-day session or like 13 days or something like that in Austin. It was really neat. It was the first time we've ever gotten to work with a you know, like a really experienced producer that's worked with a lot of people, and we flew him in from Los Angeles with his engineer. His name is Mark Needham, and he's like a big rock. I don't know, like he works with a lot of indie rock bands, and he had a lot to do with like Imagine Dragons and the Killers and those people getting, you recorded and their consignment deals and stuff like that, and he's really well known for his mixing and stuff. But it was super cool working with him because I think he kind of pushed us as a live band to try to see what we would be capable of accomplishing, like tracking live, and that was a really good way of doing it, I think, for us. In the past, it's kind of a lot of times you find yourself Frankensteining songs together in studios, and I think some people realize that. A lot of people probably don't realize that's kind of the day and age we live in, is where everything you hear on the radio is pretty much like Frankenstein together. A lot of it is, and I mean, Mark had us track everything pretty much live with like all of us in booths or in like a big room in the A room. And I mean, even vocals, where he's using like our harmony vocals and stuff off of like 58 beta, they're just Shure 58s in a live room, live with the drums and everything. So it was just really neat the way that whole process went down, and it felt really natural, I think, for us, because that's kind of our thing, is the live show, and we've worked really, really hard throughout the years, just touring a lot and playing a lot of live shows, and so that felt really a lot more natural to us, I think, being in a studio, being challenged with that, and performing it live, and how well can you execute it live, as opposed to making it feel natural by building it up, one track at a time, and a lot of it he even did without a click track, like without even a metronome, and so it's like there's like push and pull in the tempo and parts, and I thought it was really neat. I'm very excited about the album, and we're kind of in the mix phase right now, and going back and forth on mix edits, and there's some stuff I think we're going to go back in and maybe re-record little parts or whatever, but for the most part, it's like we have a full-length album, and we're kind of focused on putting the right team together, and having discussions on how big of a release do we want to make it, and what do we want to do with our career path with the album, so.
Yeah. One of the things that's, I think, is, I guess, like, invigorated country and Americana music lately has been when these country or roots rock bands work with guys with a typically like a rock and roll background. Mm-hmm. On the large scale, it's like Dave Cobb, right?
Right.
But even like Flatland, their record, the two things they've done has been with Scott Ferris here in town, and he's got like a rock and roll background, and it sounds kind of similar to.
For sure, yeah.
Like I think it helps challenge, and like they approach songs in a different way that make things maybe a little bit punch better sonically. And
for sure, I think it's good to, as a musician, it's like. I mean, I personally think that's a really cool thing to mix it up a little bit. Work with people outside of your element, and in the long run, I think you're going to benefit 100%. Whether that's songwriting or it's recording or producing or jamming. I mean, like on any level, you surround yourself with some different stuff. It's gonna shake things up a little bit, and it's gonna be good for you. And Mark is that's actually Andrew, who's Mark's manager, is he works with Dave Cobb as well. I think is another one of his producers, and so they're all, I think, kind of in a little circle together. And but I definitely see what you're saying though, and totally agree with you on that, because it's good to mix it up, different genres.
Mm-hmm. I guess like Geronimo. I always think of that being. I'm always bad with timing, so I'm like, that came out just like last year, but now it's it's like 15,
two and a half years, something like that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You guys kind of just exploded with that record though, and I think like now you guys are. Obviously people are anticipating this release. Are you somebody who like always has kind of writing on for like what the next record was going to be since Geronimo, or did you just kind of collect ideas and then try and knock them out in a short amount of time as far as like finishing?
You saying on the songwriting? Like,
Yeah.
Did I have
like,
them all knocked out leading up to the album being recorded?
No, like for this new record, have you been writing continuously since Geronimo, or do you kind of go in like little phases of spurts?
Phases, honestly. I mean, it's just time with me and finding the time and finding and what I like to do is like build up kind of like a bank of, voice memos or notes and, all kinds of stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, I'll find myself with time, and then I can just like dive into all of it and just kind of, it's a weird thing because it's like when you do that, it really is a totally different mindset that you get into, and you kind of drop into like just a different way of thinking. And it's a trip because I'm pretty sure like every time I do that, you get so caught up with the business side of things because this is a business, it's an operation, it's competitive, it's there's a lot of moving parts with this whole thing, and it's really easy to get caught up with that. And when I drop into the whole songwriter mode and I have time to do that, I find myself just totally inspired and kind of rejuvenated as to why I love this so much. And like, what I truly love, I think, is down to the writing side of it. And it's weird because I don't get to write that often, like, if I'm being totally honest. And that's my fault because I get tied up with way too much, the business side of it, and, my wife, and like having a life, outside of the music, and trying to just balance as much as I can. And it's just a whole other job in itself. We're building our first house right now, and I'm just like ready to just jump off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine the stress that goes with this, with building a house.
No, it's all good, man. It's exciting.
Yeah. A note on house building though. I remember one of my aunts and her and her husband decided to build a house, and he was just like frugal as shit, like just cheap and
totally. Yeah.
And
so am I, dude. I'm so guilty.
You're gonna go like, oh, this is like another level. He was wanting to like, he asked if they could finish out like part of the house and live in that part and then finish the rest. And they're like, no, you can't do that. Like, no, there's no
right.
Like,
you gotta
can't
close.
just like. And he was wanting to like finish out like the living room and the bedroom, and then kind of like work on the rest of it. Like, and they had like twins and a toddler at that time, and it's like, you can't do that.
Oh,
like, no
my
way.
gosh, that's amazing, dude. I could totally see myself, if I wasn't married to Lauren, I could totally see myself like trying to pull that conversation off,
Yeah.
But there's no way I could get away with it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I digress. Yeah, like so much of Geronimo I thought was so you went into all these, I felt like it was like Appalachian frontier music, like it felt like everything kind of came out of the 1800s. It felt soaked with time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is that something like you kind of have been continuing to seek out, or
man, I don't know. It's like I get inspired by a lot of different levels of things, and I think on this next album I found myself like years leading up to right now not writing very much stuff that was very melodic. Like, it was melodic, but it's like there's not necessarily things that you want to like sing along with, and there's not, and like on a really folk level of music, that it's so melodic. Yes, it is the storytelling, and I think that part I got down, is like that's what I was first really inspired by, and I think I really pursued that hard in Geronimo, and there was a lot of like stories behind some of those songs, and from like Crockett's Prayer with like Texas history all the way to like part fiction, part nonfiction storytelling with like the mountain and like coming up with these like scenarios, and it's like the storytelling thing. But within those songs, there's not necessarily too much, melody to just like really just fall into the song if you're not hearing every single word of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people do. They listen to music and they don't necessarily pick out words, right? And that's okay. I mean, everybody's different. With this album, I think that with the songs that I was working with, I was really wanting to like push myself on like trying to be significantly more melodic, to where it's like you listen to it and you just kind of like fall into the melody of the song, and in the past, I think that's something I haven't been very solid at as a songwriter, and so I wanted to try to challenge myself a little bit with that, and aside from that, it was me wanting to, as usual, like I really wanted to try to capture that band sound, and I think we did that for the most part. It's a big sounding album. Like, I mean, I think it's a very full, big sounding album. There are some songs that are just straight up like rock, but it's our style of rock. If you've been to our show, there's a difference in like rock music and like playing your heart out on stage and just going into like a big halftime jam and stuff like that. And that's what I refer to when I say rock. It's like the stuff we do live at shows. I was really trying to capture that on this album. And yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think there's anything on it that I'm going to regret. It might be a little bit different for some of our fans. The fans that are like just totally sold on like just songs like Dance the Night Away and like don't really care as much for like I don't know, if you like like the song we cover at our live show, and I'm talking to you, just friend to friend, like you've been to a lot of our shows.
Yeah.
How like we play like Hurricane. We've played that song. We've covered that song. Levon Helm recorded it. The band recorded it. We play our version of it kind of the way like the band recorded that Band of Heathens recorded. And if you like the way we play that song live, you'll probably like this album a whole lot, because it's a lot of songs like that with a lot of energy and a lot of 4-part choruses that are more melodic, big choruses, like anthem choruses. And so, we got to see how it all comes out and which songs actually go on it and which songs don't go on it. But, all in all, that's kind of where I was with it, like going into it. It's not the same vibe as like, I wouldn't say it's the same vibe as like The Mountain. Mm-hmm. Because The Mountain was truly, I wanted to write like an Appalachian hymn. It was like very directional towards that. And this one, it's like the 4-part harmony stuff. You hear that kind of Celtic like fiddle riff influence throughout this record some, but it's not as like direct sounding as like Appalachian or like anything like that necessarily. Yeah. It's not. There's not really any bluegrass songs on it, if that makes sense. It's more. It's a lot more like our live show as a whole, I think.
Yeah.
If you were to average the live show.
Yeah. I've always compared The Mountain to, and I've asked you this. I asked you this on the first one. I was like, is that like Tolkien inspired? Because that's what it sounds like. But
it's very much like there is like a fantastical type of writing to it, I think, and I think that's cool. I love that type of stuff too. I mean, it definitely wasn't intentional, but at the same time, it was just, I don't know, the whole metaphorical thing with like, a mine shaft and like a hole in the side of a mountain being portrayed as a dragon's mouth with smoke coming out of it because there's a fire in the coal mines. that is fantastical, but it's also just another metaphor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah. We've run like 18 minutes if you want to stop.
Cool. We'll go knock it out.
So like the 4-part harmonies is such a big piece of the puzzle. And we've talked a little bit about how it's not necessarily something that you were writing towards, these pieces that turn into these moments, right? But you guys have been a band together for a while now. Has that changed up a little bit, where you do think of you can hear
For sure.
the harmonies in your head before you even?
Yeah, there's a song called Oklahoma City that that's going to be on this next album, and that was one of those things I was definitely thinking of, like, throughout the process of writing that. There's big 4-part harmonies on it and on the choruses, and yeah, I mean, there's even a side of me that's kind of like wanting to write some stuff away from the 4-part harmonies, because we brand it so much, and because it's like you don't want that to just be like so accessible just all the time. It's like it's a cool thing, and it stays cool by not having it just everywhere all the time. You know what I mean? And,
no, of course, yeah.
And so I think that's something we gotta watch, and we gotta make sure that we don't overdo that. But to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. I think about it now. I think about everything down to like a fiddle riff, and like down to like, we need to have a song that like literally starts with X, Y, and Z, and or whatever, with a particular instrumental part or something, but at one time, no, I wasn't. I probably wasn't thinking about the 4-part, but now that we've been touring with it so much, like, you start to write stuff, with that in mind, that's like a tool that you can use and utilize. So you kind of instinctively, I think, start writing like that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it is one of those things, like, if you listen to any of the great singers, they're not belting out all the damn time. They're pulling back, right?
Right.
And then like when those moments happen, they're big, and that you feel them. And I guess you have to kind of approach it the same way.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I've never really thought of it like that, but you're absolutely correct. Like, there are those climactic moments, and it has to be dynamic. It can't just be pedal to the metal all the time. And yeah, it applies with everything.
Yeah. Now, one of the things you just said there that was really interesting is you're thinking of it feels like you're thinking of the songs not in like the final form when you start out, but like you're thinking of all of the
blueprints of it.
Yeah. And I know like a lot of people really think of just when they're starting out writing a song, they're thinking of just how they play it acoustic. You know what I mean? Versus how the band is going to turn this acoustic song into a full band piece. Feels like you're thinking like about all of the, for lack of a better term, like all of the little stuff that you guys do well.
Yeah,
and
like
being able to put it into.
And I don't come up with the majority of that stuff. It's like I've just started, I think, to write more. And I wouldn't say that. I haven't just started to do that. That's been one of those things that I think I kind of get a picture in my head, and I try to write towards that direction. And even from like before I had a band, I think I was doing that some, like, oh man, it'd be so cool if we could have this or that or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like writing for that. But it just depends on the song. There are some songs that are just written as a song, like down to its core, just an acoustic guitar or a piano and a vocal and lyrics and a story or whatever. And that's all I care about, like when I'm writing it. And there's others that are, it's more of I'm like thinking up this blueprint as a whole, and I'm trying to like piece it together, with that whole kind of blueprint in mind off the bat, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's just a bunch of different ways to do it, and I try to mix it up the best I can, I guess.
Yeah. Now, what's your first record called? Like the very first one?
The very first one, we actually don't sell anymore. You might be able to get it on iTunes, but it is I'll See the Miles, and that was recorded, I guess it was like 2000.
That's the one with like Kaufman County
like
Blues,
that.
right?
Kaufman County Lines.
County Lines, yeah. Because that one, like, that's like the, if there's like any tests of the, if there's like the Shane Smith fan base, if they know about that record, then like they hold their head a little bit higher.
Yeah, totally. You're totally right.
In that little bit of like snobbish kind of way, not like an asshole, but like a little bit more like
for sure.
Yeah, I've been
for sure.
And I've heard like a lot of people request that song even here, and you're always like, how do you guys know this thing? You know
right?
what I mean?
Yeah. Somebody the other night requested what was it? Indian Song, which is a song that I wrote about the Trail of Tears.
Mm-hmm.
That's on that album, and I just started laughing. I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like, I haven't played that song in so many years, and I'd have to like freshen up on the lyrics myself, like.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, it's a trip, man. When you have something out like that you don't really perform any of it. It's kind of like your first shot at recording at a young age, and you go for it, and it's like it's always right there. Like there's that one fan every night, like yelling out, "Play so and so," Kaufman County Lines or whatever. And it's like I love that. I love it because it's like. It's like young singer-songwriter, like totally raw, just trying to do a lot of storytelling. I mean, it's totally like a storytelling album, like for fans of ours that just love the storytelling aspect of our music, and are willing to listen to me when I like sounded really bad and a lot different. Not that I sound good now, but like I was not very talented, and that would be a good album for him to try to track down or hunt down.
Well, that's one of my favorite things to do is like find out what like the first record is, because a lot of times people will take those off iTunes, or obviously they go out of print. You don't get a bunch more made up, and it's like you find them on Amazon or on eBay, and they're like $500 or something like that, and you're like, who's selling these right here?
It's like the Ryan Bingham, like the Wishbone Saloon record. That
I talked to him about that, and he was like, about that whole thing, because like he had a couple before Mescalito that he said like one of his uncles probably still has copies of them, and I was like, you need to get those reissued or something, like people will buy those up. And he was like, yeah, I know, it's so surprising because we couldn't give them away. At the beginning, like there's no way like these people would even take them, and now like they're 500, like Turnpike's first record. Go and find that. Like that's one that's $100 somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Totally, I remember that when we first started playing with them. They had that, and every time I'd like talk to them about it, I feel like they'd be like, "No, it was like." Sounds like it was recorded in a garage. You don't want to hear that.
I think like that's what like it was.
I think it was recorded in a garage. Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah,
but it's a trip, man. It's a total trip. I had a box of those CDs in a trailer that got like. It's a long story. Like I was saying I'm like super cheap as well. Like earlier we were talking about like your uncle that's like trying to have a house and like save money or whatever. So I had bought this trailer off of Craigslist, and the whole thing was a little bit shady because I ran the serial number and it came up as a red flag. I called I called on it and to whoever, I guess the comptroller or somebody, I don't know, and And they're like, nope, it's actually not stolen. It's like a, it was something with an insurance claim, but it should be cleared now. It's good. And I'm like, oh, man, sweet.
Yeah.
So I got this trailer for like next to nothing on Craigslist. Driving it, I find myself like a year later in a parking lot in South Austin where I didn't have room to park it at my house. So I would go and every now and then I would have to park it at random places. So there's like a Gold's Gym in South Austin that was my next victim, that I parked it and my truck attached to it down there, and I came back and my truck had been broken into, and like my first guitar was in the back, like that had actually gotten like destroyed from another gig where it got like a speaker fell on it or something. And but I was gonna save up one day and like put it back together, and so that was in there in like this soft case with all the pieces to it, and my golf bag, and I had this like golf bag that my dad found at a thrift store with all my clubs in it, but it was like a 1980s like Gatorade lime green leather Gatorade bag that was just like, I mean, unignorable on a golf course. And like that was back there. All this stuff is stolen out of the back of my truck, right? I show up, I'm devastated. I'm like, oh my God, dude, that guitar just got me through everything. Like, and it was totally just busted, like in pieces, and someone still stole it out of the back of my truck. And I was just like, they probably threw it in a ditch or something after realizing it was just broken. And it just meant the world to me. And so I was just devastated. I called the cops. I was like, come over here. Let's run finger pricks. We're going to find this dirt bag. And I had like a box of those I'll See the Miles CDs. And I can't remember if they got stolen or if they were the only thing that didn't get stolen. Like, I literally don't remember. So I've either got a box of those CDs or I don't somewhere. I'm sure I do, but regardless, it was just, I showed up. That's not even the best part of the story is like, these cops show up and they're like, oh man, this is going to be tough. We'll try to run fingerprints. I run all these fingerprints and they're like, how long have you owned this trailer for? I'm like, why are you asking about the trailer, officer? I've owned it legally for, like a year and a half or something. And they're just like, huh. It's coming up like it's stolen, like in Kansas or something. And I was just like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me, dude. And you're like, yeah, I'll call, but and they called. Then the sheriff or whoever in charge like called me back and was like, hey, that was our bad. Actually wasn't, this or that, whatever. And I was like, oh, thank God. Then I got another call back, and they're like, no, we were actually correct. It was an insurance agency had paid out on a wreck that happened on it, but as according to the paperwork, they owned the trailer at that point for paying out the damages, and they never received their trailer.
Yeah.
And this guy just had it as a storage shed, in his back lot somewhere that he sold me on Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
They literally towed my trailer. They showed up because I had been robbed out of the trailer and out of my truck. All kinds of like precious items to me. My chainsaw, like all kinds of stuff, let alone my first guitar. And they proceed in not finding any fingerprints and towing my trailer and literally repoing my trailer. And I was just like, I give up. I give up on everything. There is no hope for me here.
Yeah.
And I've
that was a bad day.
Yeah, I've gotten out of the well since then,
Yeah.
Doing better, but
one of these days you're gonna be watching golf on Sunday, and like Ricky Fowler's gonna be having that.
Yeah, that dirt bag's gonna have my lime green bag. No one will believe me. God dang it.
Yeah. That'd be
it's
like
that GD Ricky Fowler's got it.
It'd be that it's very Seinfeldian in a way right there. If that's
if he's not bright orange. He's lime green.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I looked on Craigslist because I'm a Craigslist snob, probably like your uncle, and I went totally bird dogging for that Gatorade bag, dude. I looked so hard for that thing, and I never found it. I need to get back on there because maybe now's the right time for him to post it.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, that kid, there's no way he's thinking about that lime green Gatorade bag right now. We can sell it now.
Man, that's a bad day right there.
Dude,
I don't know.
it
I don't
was so
really
bad.
probably have anything to top that. So
Dude, I mean, that's pretty bad, right? I mean, I don't think I'm over dramatizing.
it's like you're
that. Like,
getting up and you look up and the cops are just like pushing you back down. Like, no, we're going to take this too.
yeah, it's like, man, I thought you guys
Obviously
were
not
like
their fault,
helping me. Like, what is going on? Sir, we're going to have to take you in. You got 50,000 unpaid parking tickets. You know, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just doing their job, I guess.
That is, I guess that's the situation.
That's right.
Yeah, that's,
I feel like insurance companies get theirs. You know what I mean? It's like they got so much money. Like, come on. Let me have this terrible trailer.
right.
And just
Insurance is always just the, what would I call it? I think me and my buddies, this is back around high school, we were like, insurance is a white myth. Like rich white people just convinced you that you needed to pay for insurance on everything.
Yeah.
And they've been getting away with it forever. So
yeah. No, it's like, look at the statistics of it. Like, it really doesn't add up for you, but I don't know. Whatever.
yeah,
We're just going to leave it.
leave
it alone.
That's like an adult conversation that no one wants to hear talking
Nope.
about. But,
Hey, get out of here. They're letting that intern back here again. They let him out of his cage. Dustin Six just walked by us.
yeah, I know. It's always funny, like these, or it's not funny, but these street shows are so massive and they're so hectic for, you know, Dustin and Parker and Lance and Derek and like setting everything up, right? And by the end of the night, you don't even want to just like bother them. You want them to be like, just go take I'm not going to bother you. You guys are going to have to be back here, or you're going to be here for the rest of the night putting all this shit up.
Right.
And the next day or the next week, you're like, you can tell that a street show just happened because they're just worn ragged by having to walk all over this damn place, setting stuff up that people really don't ever think about having to do, you know?
Oh, dude, there's so much that goes into this stuff. That's why it's like so amazing having like a production company that'll like set up and tear down everything, and like a company that'll come in, set up and tear down everything, like where you can just like, you know, wash your hands from the whole thing. But yeah, I'm excited. This is our first time ever doing a street show. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but we've never done one of these, and I mean we're very familiar with the blue light. We've played the blue light for years, and so it's like an honor to get to play a street show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's kind of like what I was leading up to. Is the first time I saw y'all play, it was opening with American Aquarium, and this was like a while back here, and I believe it was American Aquarium, and y'all were opening, so there was not a whole lot of people in yet.
Yeah.
But then the next time, it felt like you guys were headlining on a Friday or Saturday, and it was just jam packed, and it's been that way forever.
Yeah.
Since, like, where it's like you got to get in line at doors open at 8, you have to get here at 7 to get in line because there's only so much room in blue light.
Yeah.
And it's been that way forever.
Yeah,
It feels
been a really
like
cool thing. The blue light was, I think, the first place we realized that radio was like helping us, because we promoted our first single was Coast. It was a title track off that first album for us as a band, and it was one of those deals that we realized it. Like, Dave Wild was just playing the hell out of it. You know, the ranch in Fort Worth was playing the hell out of it, and like all these people, like, these gatekeepers of radio like kind of legitimately like helped us out so much, and it was just the craziest thing in the world to show up to Lubbock, you know, excited that we had an album to promote and that we had a radio single. Angela Lampton was promoting us. Like, there was a lot of exciting stuff for us going on right then. And we were very new to everything. And I remember we showed up to the Blue Light, and it was a sold-out show, and we were just like, oh my gosh, this is just so crazy. And because like all that hard work of like nobody giving a crap, you know, like, you know, on 6th Street or whatever, just 4-hour sets back to back most nights, and like, you know, and it's just no fans, you know, it's just people, and you're just playing for passerbys, and you're just background music or whatever, and to show up and there's people like all singing the lyrics to that song is just like it was just a really cool feeling. And it was at the Blue Light, like legit. It was at the Blue Light when that happened for the first time for us. So it's one of those places I'll always remember, no matter how old I am or whatever. I'll always remember this place as being that, like, wait, this might work.
Yeah.
You know, like this might actually happen. So
yeah.
It was really neat.
You know, a couple of podcasts back, I had Bruce Robinson and Jack Ingerman.
Awesome.
And they were talking about, you know, early, like mid or late 90s, mid 90s, you know, they wouldn't be doing a podcast. They'd be at a radio station. And like, there's no doubt that like radio was really, really, really fucking important.
Oh, totally.
Especially around the early 2000s. But, you know, obviously the rise of Spotify and the rise of having everything on your phone, it's, I guess, made radio less important. But whenever you have those voices like Wild when he was at 105, now it's JR, but especially like the Ranch in Fort Worth, it feels like those guys aren't just playing music, they're shaping an audience to find the good stuff, you know. And that's
you're totally right.
It's more important than I think they may realize, or like even just people in general, because like they're,
and that's not a knock against them, but like that might honestly be something that they might not even realize, that how important it is that they take their selectiveness of music like extremely important for the sake of this scene and for the sake of its notoriety. You know what I'm saying? From the outside. A lot of people look down on this scene from, you know, like bigger, you know, there's big stuff obviously outside of this scene, but this scene is like so powerful and it's so grassroots and it's so cool the way that it operates. And, you know, these major stations for our scene, like the Ranch, and it truly is like so important, like that they hold themselves to that regard, and that and I think they do, but they hold themselves to that regard on how selective they are to what music they run, because whatever they choose to run through there is what everyone in the rest of the world, when they have a chance to look in on it, that is what shapes what this scene is. And if it's not legit and they're still giving it spins or whatever, that's going to affect, you know, the scene as a whole, and it's going to affect the overall perspective of what other people look at it, you know. And you know, it's a neat deal. It really is. It's a cool thing. Like, it's just this state, you know, Texans are notorious for talking about Texas. Yeah, I get that, but like, it's a really neat deal to see how this state like pulls together, whether it's for entertainment and fun, whether it's for heartache and like disaster relief. Right. I mean, it's like, it is just like amazing, I think. And yeah, it's just one more reason I love it here.
Yeah. I always like whenever, I do think they care, like probably more than, like that bunch at the Ranch probably cares more about what they're playing than most stations do, and you can tell whenever, especially whenever they play something that they love and they think is really, really good, and there's that one guy who's like, this isn't Texas country, and then Shane will be like, well, it may not be Texas country, but it's good music, and like they defend good music, you know,
Right.
even if it's not necessarily what used to go get drunk with at 18 years old, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Like I think the
It's so important
like
that they keep that too, because
the Texas country red dirt brand, the label, the genre has expanded so much in the last 15 years, you know. I don't know if you guys would be considered Texas country or red dirt 15 years ago, you know what I mean?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Even guys like Turnpike, I mean, like they feel like you guys have added so much of the roots music into this scene.
I personally want to get away from, and I really like, you know, this isn't me being a jerk or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I personally want to get away from the term Texas country and
Right.
and that thing. Like the red dirt thing, I get it. You know, like the soil in the ground, I get it. You know, it's this area, but at the end of the day, it's so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be pigeonholed the way that pigeonholes it. It doesn't have to be Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be just country. It doesn't have to be just red dirt. It doesn't. I mean, those are all amazing elements, but to me, it's like, what makes this so cool? And if there's somebody with the reddirtorganization.org or whatever, you know, what makes that person so cool, and what makes the organization, what makes that scene, this whole thing that you call Texas Country Red Dirt fan base so cool, is the fact that it has an open ear to independent music and gives independent artists the opportunity to have a platform of a legitimate career in music.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it so cool.
Yeah.
And you don't see it anywhere. We've toured, like, you know, we haven't toured as much as a lot of bands, but we've toured like over 40 states or something like that in the last like year and a half. Like, I mean, we've gotten to see a lot of stuff, and we've gotten to see a lot of festivals. We've gotten to see a lot of, like, we've met so many bands. That's the biggest thing. We've met so many bands from so many different places. Every time we play in, you know, like Washington or Ohio or whatever, like there are bands opening those shows that are local, that are talking to us before and after the show. They're like, hey, what can we do, you think, like to get out there or whatever? They don't have what we have here.
Right.
They don't.
Yeah.
It's non-existent anywhere. And it used to be existent with like the, you know, like the punk rock scene and like and it still is. I'm sure I'm not, you know, discrediting that at all. I'm sure it's like alive and, you know, thriving. I don't know, but it's like in the 90s what was happening with like those rock bands, like,
yeah. Well, know. I feel like what it was back, it's probably still the same way, is that the pockets of music are more city based, right? Like DC or like obviously New York, LA, Seattle.
Well, word of mouth couldn't spread the way it can now.
But like now, Texas, what Texas has is more of the state infrastructure, while those places really have like the city infrastructure. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're totally right. And that's a lot through college kids,
right?
And universities, and like kids going from small towns to big universities, and just constantly jamming whatever at their parties and stuff. And everyone's like, "Where's that?" Or, "I've never heard of that. I'm from New York," and blah blah blah, or "I'm from LA," or whatever. Like, and that's what builds it, and that's what's so cool about like what this scene. Like, again, I'm talking all in present tense, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so forget even that aspect of how it's cool. Like, what it's done. Like, we've sold out the last 2 shows in New York City that we've played there. Our only 2 shows we've ever played in New York City have been sold out. And that is like in the dead center of Lower Manhattan, like at a legitimate venue. And that is all because of this scene. It's because like this fan base is so passionate about the music that it's open to, and like, and It's like they don't go to shows. They go to shows and they talk about it at work, and they like burn a CD and send it to their cousin. You know, they send a song, like a Spotify link, to, you know, a group text and be like, y'all got to check this song out. You know, they're going to blow up in the next couple of years or whatever. Like, they are the reason that it thrives so much. And that is what causes us to even have success out of state. That's how powerful the scene is. And it to me, it pigeonholes the scene as a whole when you start to categorize it as things that are geographic, like Red Dirt, or things that are even genre, like, you know, country, Texas country. Like, American Aquarium is one of the – they're a great band within this scene, right? They're accepted within the scene, and they've done really well. And, like, you know, so his you know, like Black Lilies and, like, you know, Turnpike Troubadours, obviously Oklahoma, and, like, but there are so many bands that are itching. Dude, I literally had a phone meeting the other day with a band that is open for us in Washington, and I had it 2 days ago, I think, 3 days ago. And it's a guy that they're a great band. They opened for us in some tiny town in northern Washington, like a year ago or something. And we had such a long conversation about, like, him saying, you know, man, it's like y'all have such a cool thing down there, and it's like we don't know what to do. It's like our hands are tied. We're playing these bars, but we're just background music up here. But, like, our music would go over really well down there. It's like, what do we do? Like, should we get a radio promoter and just come down every now and then, or, like, should we do this or that or whatever? And it's like, that's a legit conversation that I just had with somebody the other day, a follow-up on that, of, like, how he can get his band, like, somehow exposed down here within this whole thing.
What are they called? What's their...
I don't want to say it because it's like he's, you know, I'm still talking to him about a bunch of other stuff, but, like, it's Big John Cannon. It's like he's up in I'm trying to remember what the little town is. It's not Spokane. It's another little town up north of, a couple hours north of Seattle. We played a festival in Yakima, Washington, and then went and did a show up there. And it was I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just mind-boggling, though, like how much of an impact it has throughout other states. Like, all the way in Washington, you have this guy that's, like, desperately wanting to get exposure down here and desperately wanting to, you know, have a conversation with someone down here and just, like, talk about it and, like, what can we do, and, like, how does it work down there? Like, do you get a promoter? Do you get a publicist? Do you do this? Do you do that? And they're, like, so fascinated and interested because it truly is, like, so unique and interesting. Like, you just don't find it anywhere. And that's the same conversation we had in Ohio with the band that opened for us, the same conversation we've had in, you know, like, Maryland, and, I mean, like, everywhere. Like, there are these bands that are so hungry to get exposure and to be within a scene and, like, get in front of fans and stuff. But it's like, where are they going to get that? You think they're going to get it on radio? Hell no. You think they're going to get it, like, I mean, they'll get it from doing what, like, American Aquarium did, and they were about to break up as a band right before they did it.
Right.
Because they couldn't make it happen. And then all of a sudden they get in front of Turnpike Troubadours, in front of, you know, 1,000+ fans that are Red Dirt fans, and they're like, hell yeah, we'll accept that too. This is awesome music.
Right.
It doesn't matter where you're from. Like, it doesn't, and it shouldn't. And I think it could be, like, such a bigger scene, kind of, you know, it's like people talk about the Americana scene and stuff, and it's amazing. It's cool. It's been like 25 years in the making, or 30 years in the making, something like that, probably. And they've done an incredible job, and it's really cool. But it's like, it's like that. I mean, it could be something, you know, the Americana, you know, that's getting a Grammy now. You know, it's like, and I mean, that
it's being taken
it could
seriously.
be that if you brand it in a way to where it doesn't pigeonhole itself, and it doesn't, you know, geographically, you know, contain itself, and even in terms of genre contain itself, like it's truly its own name. I mean, it could be as big as you ever want it to be. It's like there's a reason Core Blunt from Canada can come down here and do well. You know, it's because it's a fan base of a bunch of really awesome people that are willing to listen to independent music and have an open ear to it, and not only support it and buy a ticket, but go out and tell everyone they know about it to try, whether they realize it or not, to grow that scene and that infrastructure. And that's what's happened up to this point.
Yeah. You want to sign that real quick? Yeah. It's interesting that with Texas music, I feel like right around the first time you hear Texas music, like, or any of these artists from Texas, when the first time you heard like Pat Green, or the first time you heard Randy Rogers or anybody like that, was like, for me at least, the first time I thought there's a middle ground between playing guitar at home and being like Alan Jackson or George Strait. And you know, everyone in Texas is basically an indie artist, and like all these guys and girls prove that you can there's a middle ground, you know what I mean? And that's something that, like, I think a lot of people growing up don't really realize, that you can be a working musician and make a living without being, you know, stadium rock, arena rock level, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And so much of that is due to the infrastructure of Texas.
Yeah.
So
You're totally right. I mean, that's a question we're having to ask ourselves right now with the album and stuff. Is like, do you want to? Yeah, what do you want to be as a musician? What type of career do you want to have? Do you want to, you know, try to be as big as you possibly can on like a global scale and like sign with a label and like do the whole thing with this album? Do you want to continue to be independent but try to do it a different new way that's like cool and gives you balance with your life? And you know, it's like there's so many different ways of going about it, and yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, probably the most talented musicians that there are, you're not going to hear, like, you know, playing like the biggest stage that there is. A lot of times, you know, it's just because either reality sits in, or they just don't want to be famous, or they, you know, I don't know. It's just it's a whole other conversation, but yeah, there's a lot of different ways of going about this, and you can do it whatever way you want if you put a lot of work into it, and you want to build it a certain way, build it a certain way. You want to do it a whole different way, a different type of fan base. You want to, you know, be Mumford and Sons and, you know, pick and choose your tour dates based on, you know, what stopovers they do. Is like a stopover is like a show for them, like over in the States or somewhere. It's like they choose their cities that they're going to have their stopovers at, which every show is just a mini festival. It's literally like a miniature festival. They'll just bring all kinds of amazing bands onto the lineup and just have this killer thing. I went to one in Guthrie, Oklahoma. The reason it was at Guthrie, Oklahoma is because the way they choose what town they're going to have their stopovers in is based on the economy sending out bids of those towns. The most impoverished or like needing, you know, financial help towns throughout the U.S., they literally took a huge tally of all these different cities, these different markets that they could have them in, and they chose the ones that it would help the community the most, them bringing their concert to the town. So Guthrie, Oklahoma, I think sold like over $1 million in ice within a day.
Wow.
Or something like that, or like a weekend or something.
Yeah.
In bags of ice. It's like, you know, you can go as far as that if you want to do your career.
Yeah.
You know, you could do it however you want to do it. There's a lot of different ways, and a lot of people have found tons of success by literally just sticking in the state of Texas. A lot of people have found success by signing with a label, going down a long, tough road, or a super fast, easy road.
Yeah.
It's usually not, but, you know, There's so many ways of doing it. So.
Yeah. Well, so much. I don't know. We'll say this for the next one because I feel like if I say this right here, we'll
Go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah. Well, we're going to stop it right there.
All right, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
sure, dude. I appreciate you taking the time. It's good getting to catch up with you again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna start looking for those that golf bag.
You need to. You need to, and call me.